It's on now. Well, it's 4:31, so we better get started. I'd like to call to order the Moorhead Public Service Commission's Tuesday, March 17th meeting. And I'd like to remind customers wishing to address the commission or items that are not on the agenda to please fill out the request to speak form located on the table by the elevators and give that to the administrative assistant in attendance at the meeting prior to speaking. Customers wishing to address the commission regarding a specific agenda item other than the rate hearings will be given an opportunity during the discussion of that item. Each customer will be given 3 minutes to address the commission. We are here to listen. Any follow-up or feedback will be done by email or on anything that cannot be resolved this evening. I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make the motion to approve the agenda.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Are there any customers to be heard? Seeing none. Recognitions, Travis?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. Any old business?
Yes, Joel, or Commissioner Paulson, you had asked about if there were any type of grants or anything that for the electric system. We did do some research on that, and really we didn't find anything similar to what we had talked about that evening. Typically, the electric industry doesn't provide grants like that unless it's for R&D type things or deed through APPA, or you have some type of natural disaster. There's some FEMA money as well too. But besides that, there isn't anything. We did have some conversations with a couple of, or one of our consulting firms that we utilize, and they didn't know of anything either.
Okay. Thank you, General Manager Schmidt. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
Okay, any other old business? Seeing none, we'll move on to reports. City Council, Mr. Hendrickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With this last council meeting, we passed a resolution to sustain the mayoral declaration of a state of emergency for the 2020 flood. And, we've enacted our point system where we just go through certain steps through a major flood. We passed a resolution, too, to support a bill grant application for the 11th Street Railroad Grade Separation Project. So, and I think the grant is worth $25 million. So, we're going to go after that. We were close last year, and I think we're going to be even closer this year if we do not get it, if not get it. So, Mayor Judd and I were in St. Paul for the Coalition of Greater Minnesota Cities Action Day on Wednesday. So we did a little lobbying with our legislators. Some of the initiatives for Moorhead are to support the Clay County Waste Management Campus or the Solid Waste Transfer Station, which I've been working on for 5 years, so hopefully this year is the year. Funding for the downtown Moorhead 11th Street grade separation underpass, which I just mentioned with the bill grant, but that was at the top of our initiatives, and it was talked about quite a bit. Offered continued support of DNR's efforts to secure additional funding to continue flood mitigation and acquisition of flood-prone properties to address the North Moorhead Flood Control Project and gaps in citywide protection. So we're talking about that Oakport area, so we look for funds there. Look for funding for the Moorhead Community and Aquatic Center. I think it's really needed. And that was at the top of the list when we were talking to legislators too. Regional transportation improvements just all across the city of Moorhead. And we lobbied for a regional inclusive playground. So that was about it on Wednesday. So it was a busy day. People were not shaking hands, they were bumping elbows because they were scared of the COVID-19. But what I saw in the news last night is Mayor Judd did pass emergency measure for the COVID-19, and we have a council meeting this Thursday to approve that resolution. But I'm asking our citizens in Moorhead just to just keep an eye on the CDC website, practice social distancing, which I try to do with my kids. No, I'm kidding. And then wash your hands. Just keep cognizant of it's, the cases are rising right now, so just keep safe and, just keep an eye on what you're doing. So, thanks.
Thank you. Public Service Commission, any reports? I have an update on the water tower art. We've examined some, like close to 20 different proposals, and we've narrowed the field down, and we will be moving forward on that at the end of April, but I suspect it'll be longer than that, given what's been going on in terms of our ability to meet. So the process is moving forward. So that's a good thing. General Manager's report?
Sure. Just a couple things on the general manager's report. The first one is a power factor assessment. Missouri River Energy Services are our supplemental power supplier for the city of Moorhead. And annually, we go through a process from with Missouri River. They provide us a report that says how we did in the last year. We're required to have we can only have a maximum of 10 hours where our power factor is below 0.95, and it's very technical review of that. Last year in 2019, our actual hours were 1.5 hours, so we met the criteria of that. Some things that could happen if you go below that 10, you might have to put in additional capacitance to handle that power factor to bring it up closer to 1. 1 is the number you want to be at. It's really hard to get there, but they allow for that variation as well too. So that was good. Along with that, we also do an internal power factor assessment. We look at all of our feeders and all of our areas of town to make sure that we don't have any issues internally as well too. And that can help us both by putting in capacitor banks on our system, or we can look at some of our larger users and say, hey, your power factor is a little low. And we've actually done that with Crystal Sugar and the wastewater facility as well too. So those things are important to us because we could be charged a higher rate because of it. And we work well with Missouri River to make sure we don't hit that. Again, there is some fluctuation in that. You have to look at it based off the weather of the year, and a lot of this is based off a summer control period or summer. So June, July, August is usually what we look at. And by doing that, we can try to minimize those issues that we have on our system, making sure everything's working right, no brownouts, no issues like that. So that's really what the power factor assessment does for us. It just makes sure we're following policies and agreements that we have in place with Missouri River Energy Services. The second point to this is the Red Rock Hydroelectric Project. Again, this is a Missouri River Energy Services project. They are putting I think 38 megawatt normal capacity, but max capacity of 53 megawatts. It's a hydroelectric project on the Pella River, if I remember right, or on the Pella River by Pella, Iowa. That was started back in it'll be completed in the fall of 2020. So that is there is a piece tied to that as well, and it says basically an invitation for members to go to the open house on that. They'll be given tours. We'll update you again once it gets closer to that, just depending on where this COVID-19 stuff goes and how long we're able to, or how long we have to delay things. So that is all I have.
Questions? Comments? Okay, I think it's typical to accept the general manager's report. Is that what I remember from the
Yep.
last meeting?
I would do so.
I'll make the motion to accept the report.
A second?
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We've accepted the report. Item number D, accept report number 3 on MPS's 2020 flood preparation. Travis?
Sure. I'll talk to this as well. We're working through our NIMS, our National Incident Management System. I'm actually going to be working with Taylor Holt, our distribution engineer. He's going to be taking the lead as the incident command person. Usually or typically it's me, but with some changes, I'm going to delegate that to Taylor. So he'll be working with city staff on the flood preparations and the combined effort that we do with that. After the 2019 flood, we actually incorporated a few of our steps that we do within the city's overall comprehensive plan for the flood mitigation, or for flooding. So that'll help as well too. Everybody's aware of where we're at. Roughly 50% chance is very similar to what we received for flooding in 2019 if the weather stays the way it has been, and we have temperatures in the 30s and 40s that will help reduce that overall risk to another flood. Other than that, we're still working on preparations and making sure we're sitting well with that too. So, questions?
Questions? No? Okay. Do you have a motion?
I'll move to approve the report on flood preparation.
Thank you.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We've accepted the report. Item number 9, approve amending authority of Ad Hoc Human Resources Committee.
Sure.
Travis.
I'll speak to this one as well. So two parts to this. First part is we want, after the Ad Hoc HR Committee was working with Jerry Borman, our accountant and HR coordinator, it's been noted that it's going to be longer than the June 1st deadline or sunset date. So first we want to extend that out to December 31st, 2020 to look for the general manager, or to look to hiring the new general manager. On top of that, with what's going on with the COVID-19 stuff, adding some responsibility or authority there as well, so that I can work directly with two commissioners of the Ad Hoc Committee, which is Chris Thompson and Mary Daly, to work through some of these things as it is ever changing. And what I feel is going to be a lot of HR-related items. We'll have a few customer service, and we'll deal with one of those in just a few minutes. But just trying to work through some of those things that we should be in communication with them. If we do make some changes, we'll retroactively, of course, have those approved at the next available commission meeting.
Any questions? Seeing none. Ready for a motion, I guess?
I make the motion to approve the Ad Hoc Resource Community.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. It's approved. Number 10, approve recommendation and policy related to COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
Travis.
Get to talk again. So, as we're all aware, we're going through a COVID-19 pandemic. There's a few things that I put out as a public information release last night regarding this. I do have the authority to change the disconnection and reconnections. I feel more comfortable having this as a board level action as well. So basically what the plan is we're going to, any future disconnections that are currently planned, we would no longer do those until further notice. Along with that, we do have a few customers that are currently in involuntary disconnection, and we would like to put those, or turn those people back on as well, so they have either water or electricity or both until further notice as well too, just to make sure, since everybody's kind of going to have to shelter in place for a while, that they've got those essential needs of water and electricity. So those are the two main parts of that. As we were working with city staff as well too, this commission policy, or a policy of continuity of government, which was approved by the city council. After doing some further review, I was unable to find something that we had internally for continuity of government. I felt it was imperative that we added this to the agenda so that we had a policy in place. And really what the continuity of government policy does is it basically, if there are extenuating circumstances, there's a process that we're able to follow to appoint new council, or commissioners, and basically the following there would be the city council would be the first step. If the city council is unavailable, then it would go to the Clay County Commission, and after that it would go to the governor of Minnesota. Basically following the steps that the city council has, but just adding one step of the city council in there first to be the first to appoint everything, appoint the commissioners. It also talks about the general manager position as well, an interim general manager. So if you have any questions on that, I'm going to refer to John, because John really worked through this to make sure everything looked correct.
Thank you. Appreciate the foresight. This is important to have in place.
No, very important to have this, just so we've got a guideline or a way to walk through this if we need to. Along with that, there is also the succession policy that we have as an administrative policy. That will help as well, too.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
General Manager Schmidt, I'd like to just applaud you for your work on this. This is level-headed, pragmatic, and it's the right thing to do, especially the reconnection of disconnected people in our community. During times like this, it's not a moment to be working through regular operations, and we do need to take the necessary steps to ensure that people have running water and electricity for dealing with what I think none of us expected we'd ever have to deal with. So I certainly just want to give you a pat on the back and applaud you for your efforts on this and taking the initiative. And knowing this didn't have to come to the board and taking the steps to do that anyways, we appreciate you bringing it to the board so we have an opportunity to discuss this in a public format and get the word out as far as what we're doing. So.
And just a side note, there's roughly, right now, I think we have 32 that are on the cut list. Now, some of those are voluntary, like they're snowbirds or they're out of town. They've asked to have their power or water shut off. So we'll work with the ones that aren't and get those back on probably tomorrow.
Sure.
Mr. Bolger?
Yeah, if I may, the policy's not been changed on billing. They still will be billed for those services. We don't know whether it'll ever be collectible or not, but that part of the policy hasn't been changed.
Sure.
Thanks for working through that. Is there any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
Chuck.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to echo what Commissioner Paulson said. It's good foresight and it's a good policy, and especially with water. I mean, needing water to wash those hands and keep everybody safe. And if I could ask, Travis, how close are you working with the city with the whole COVID-19?
Good question. So so just like I said earlier with Taylor Holt being our incident command for flood, Gina Loudon, our water plant chemist, she's actually has pandemic training. So I've appointed her as the COVID incident command for Moorhead Public Service. Her and I have been working really closely with city staff or the COVID staff on plans and processes, trying to make sure what we do at City Hall is the same, and working with the outside facilities as well too. Just trying to make sure that as a overall or over-encompassing thing for the City of Moorhead Public Service, that employees are the same, how things are handled with employees are the same, HR-related items, along with access to City Hall. We're kind of letting the city take the lead on that of when they're going to close down City Hall to the public. That'll be coming, I'm sure, the next few days. Yeah, and then just working through all the rest of the processes and items that we have to as trying to get this up and running as fast as possible.
It's fantastic to hear. Yeah, we're all in this together, and I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So I'm glad you're working with the city, and like I said, taking an initiative not to shut down water or electricity, especially the water thing, is a big thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I'm looking for a motion then.
I'll move to approve the recommendations and policy related to COVID-19 pandemic.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, we have a policy approved. Great.
Chris?
Yeah?
If
John?
I may, I think the continuity plan policy should be adopted separately and specifically. The way the last motion was worded, there could be a question about, well, was that really part of what was adopted?
So you're suggesting item number 10 needs to be, we need to do what with item
Well,
number 10?
for the continuity plan, which is going to become a policy of Moorhead
Okay.
Public Service, I just think that ought to have a separate motion specifically identifying that.
I'll move to approve the continuity plan for Moorhead Public Service
As a
And I-
policy of.
as a policy of the board. Yeah.
And I'll second.
Excuse me while I write this, okay? A motion second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. There's no executive session needed. And upcoming meetings, the 7th, April 7th will be our next meeting. Probably not face-to-face, but we're working on that, right? Any update on that, Travis?
Yep, I can give a quick update. As part of the COVID pandemic group, Attorney Shockley is working on a memo or a letter explaining how we can work through some of these processes in the disaster state that we're in. One of those will be, how do we handle function, or how do we function in meetings so that we can continue to authorize whatever is necessary during this time. It sounds like you can either teleconference or video conference into that. I don't know all the details yet. I have not seen the letter. It's supposed to be coming out the next day or so. So once that comes out, we'll provide more information on how we're going to handle future meetings and also give city staff some time to set up the chambers as well for the meetings.
Anything else before we adjourn? Guess we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, it doesn't need discussion, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.